Welcome to TALRadio. I am your host, Rajeshwari Kalyanam. Today we have with us Monique Davis, the President and CEO of Habitat for Humanity of Orange County. Welcome,
Thank
Monique.
you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
I would like to start this interview by you first asking you about more about Habitat for Humanity. You do some wonderful work to provide affordable housing. Can you elaborate more about Habitat for Humanity? How did it all start and the philosophy behind the organization?
Yeah, so back in 1976, Habitat was started. It's a national organization, but to do their work, they decided that it was better to have. We're based out of Atlanta, and the international organization is based out of Atlanta. But it was decided to really have a true impact across the country and the nation, that we would have affiliates. And so Habitat for Orange County was established about 32 years ago. And we have been doing this work ever since. So we're a separate 501c3 organization with our own board of directors and separate operating organization. And we work in partnership with Habitat for Humanity International. And they provide, some support financially, and they help us with branding and some other things. But our goal and our mission as an organization, really in California and specifically in Orange County, is to provide affordable housing that's critically needed. We look for safe and affordable housing and provide places for folks to live, communities where they feel safe. And our mission is to seek and put love and faith into action. Habitat for Humanity of Orange County brings people together to build homes and community and hope. So over the last 30 so years, we've built about 237 homes in about 16 cities in Orange County. Within that, we build new structures, but we also provide existing structures or home repair. So we support low-income families. We support families that have veterans in the home. And we also work with seniors that are aging in place and want to stay in their home, and they can't necessarily get out and do the repairs. So we partner with cities to do what we call our home repair services in the community. And then we also have two retail stores that provide housing, home goods and home repair goods to the community of Orange County. So we're trying to have as much of an impact as we possibly can around affordable housing.
Amazing work, as I already told you. I think home everywhere for humanity is the basic need of humanity. And you bring together people to build homes and you bring together communities. I think while there are people who benefit from the homes, I think bringing together people to help others is a big thing all on its own. So how does that work? How are you able to bring together so many volunteers working for your homes?
Yeah, you know what? I think that's one of the things that makes Habitat for Humanity of Orange County really unique and separates us from other nonprofits is the partnership that we have with our volunteers. Part of it, I think, especially in Orange County, right, the cost of a home is so substantial, right? And really where we're focused and what we really do, because I've talked about the word affordable housing, because usually when people think about affordable housing, they think about, housing for people that are severely low income or that are coming out of homelessness. And so we are really focused on, people that are very, very low, but also workforce housing. So people that are our doctors and our teachers and our firefighters, right? Like our nurses, that are in our communities on a day-to-day basis. And so people are connected to our brand. They're also connected to, through their college level experiences. We also have some high school level experiences. So people just have, grown up in the community, understanding and being partners with Habitat. And then also the great name that's out there in the community. We're also connected to a lot of church affiliations and church organizations and religious organizations. And so those folks want to get involved and partner with us. So we have new construction sites that we allow volunteers to come and participate and help build those homes. And so there's something very remarkable and there's an outstanding experience that you have when you're on a build site, right? Knowing that the wood, the hammer, the nails are actually going to, possibly save a life, create some safety, change a life for a young person that may have this ability that they didn't necessarily have in the past. So it just, once you're there and you're on a build site, it's really remarkable. We also have volunteers that come into our corporate space and they offer, volunteer services. They may answer phone calls. They may, help us reach out and connect with our future donors and recruit other volunteers. So there's so many other ways for folks to be involved and utilize their skills. And so we welcome all of that because it's really a rich experience. The other thing that I think generates more engagement with our volunteers is we're one of the one volunteer opportunities where the volunteers actually get to work with potential homeowners that are going to go into those homes. Part of our model is that for someone to acquire a home, they do what's called they have a requirement to do what's called sweat equity, and that includes helping to build the homes and being out on the build site, but it also includes taking some financial literacy classes, new home ownership classes, just educating the potential homeowners of what it means to shift from a rental environment and responsibilities to being a homeowner, so that we can honestly say in our affiliate that we've never foreclosed on a homeowner. And so to have that experience when you're building a home or you're in the office and you're actually working with someone that's actually being supported by these services, it's really rewarding. And so people, they come back time and time again to be able to have that close connection to our homeowners.
Well, that insight definitely comes from years that Habitat for Humanity has been working in this segment. So may I know how have you come to be associated with this wonderful organization?
Yeah, that's a good story. I can talk about that all day long. So I actually, years ago when I was going to school, I worked in the retail space. So I do have a retail background. I ran a number of stores, including the Disney stores. And back in the day, I worked for Lerner and I worked for New York and Company. And I ran some large square footage spaces in LA and Orange County. And I worked, after that, I transitioned to mortgage banking. So I worked in secondary marketing side. I also worked in operations around lending. And so after the mortgage crisis of 2008, and what most folks don't know is that actually started in 2005, where the credit markets were starting to dry up, and it was starting to be very challenging because of the products that were out there. I got into this space because when my husband and I moved to Orange County and we got married, we started to look for a place to rent and then also a place to purchase. It was very challenging. Obviously, I'm an African-American woman, and there were, even though the laws did not allow for discrimination in housing, it's still a very prevalent at the time, 30 years ago it was prevalent, and it still continues to be a challenge for people of color to, acquire a mortgage and to get the support to enter into home ownership. And so I got into this space because I really wanted to change the narrative, share my story, and try to, create opportunities for people of color to become homeowners. And so after 2008, it was really challenging to know that there was so much wealth that was just stripped away because of what had happened. And I know that there were people in the industry that were, that got into home ownership and had bad intentions, but there were a lot of people that just wanted the American dream. And so I think as atonement for that, I decided that I really wanted to give back. So I had a mentor one day say to me, go do what you are driven to do, and you have a hunger to really help people figure out what that is, and go do it. And so I did. I started to work in Skid Row, downtown Los Angeles, and provide housing for people that were experiencing homelessness. And I did that for about 9 years. And then this role became available, and I was actually recommended for it. And so one of the things that I can tell you about the home ownership versus the rental for folks that are experiencing homelessness is that, the thought is that people think people that are experiencing homelessness, that's just their life, right? Like whether they're very low income, or they're experiencing homelessness, is that's who they are, right? As opposed to it's an experience in their life. And they were probably homeowners before they experienced home ownership. I had a number of people in the community tell me that, and they wanted to get back to that. And the model for supportive housing rental, there's not really a strong bridge to get them from subsidized, whether it's Section 8 or project-based vouchers, to then home ownership, right? And so when this role came up, I understand the importance of home ownership. And so I thought it was a great marriage, and to partner with Habitat for Humanity to create and elevate the bridge that could be folks coming from, being homeless to, or experiencing homelessness, to then becoming stable, having housing. And then what does it look like to move on to be a very low income homeowner? And then also all of the folks that are working in Orange County, right, that have never experienced homelessness, but they're trying to, when you look at the cost of a house and what it takes to actually become a homeowner, you have to make over $200,000 now, and specifically living in Orange County, to afford a median home priced in our county. And so I've come to this because I feel very passionate about, folks being self-sustaining, supporting people that really want to be good citizens in the community, but they need that hand, that support to be able to do it. And I also think financially, it's less burdensome on the government. It's less burdensome on taxpayers, and cities and counties, and then the state and federal government. And so I think that it's important to have this relationship. And the model with Habitat, I think, is like one of the best out there to create that opportunity for people.
That's wonderful. Also, just now you spoke about discrimination, and that is not in terms of just the people of color, people of different races, but also people of different income groups. I think, and that kind of gets reflected more so in the housing market. So I see on your website and everywhere you talk about inclusivity, whether it's volunteers or whether it's people who are benefiting. So, and I also see that there is a mixed income housing community that you're trying to build. So would you be able to talk more about it?
Yeah, I think there's a few questions in that. And so I want to just, if I can, just kind of chunk them out. I think, when folks think about affordable housing, they don't understand, what Habitat truly means and what those products look like. And I think they're afraid just because they're not necessarily sure what that means. There's some scary things, right? Like people often think of affordable housing and they connect it to, some of the projects that weren't really funded well, back in the early 70s and 80s. And they think about, incredible lack of safety and lack of security. And so, folks fight that kind of housing in their communities just because they want to make sure that if we're building housing, that it is they're going to be good community members, right? Like they're going to be good partners in the city and help to maintain their investment, right? If they're homeowners, they want to make sure that their investment is maintained. And so I think often once we go in and we share, some of the success stories that we've had, it gets folks to change their mind about our projects, and it helps them understand that, in order for people to have a sustained quality of life, where they're not commuting 2 or 3 hours one way just to get to work, that, Orange County needs its workforce close by in a reasonable commuting time. And so inclusionary housing is about that. It's about making sure that our factory workers and our manufacturing workers and, our nonprofit workers have a decent place to live. Again, it's the teachers, it's the firefighters, it's all of the folks that are working to, support our businesses. And that's really what it's about. In terms of, inclusion, I think, not everyone understands, financial literacy and understands that home ownership is the way to, sustained and creating generational wealth. And so our mission at Habitat is to do that very thing, right? Is to walk folks through what it means to be a homeowner, what it means to be credit worthy. How do you, become credit worthy, and then also obtaining your home, and then what does it look like in terms of wealth building, right? So we walk families through all of that. We give them the education, so that when they do obtain these homes, they're actually, good stewards in the community, and they're reinvesting in their properties and making sure that they're good partners. I will say, in terms of diversity and inclusion, I don't necessarily want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the history and the past of Orange County, but what I do think is that I have met a lot of people who are interested and care a great deal about helping low and very low and moderate income families obtain that home ownership dream, but more so creating stability for young children and creating stability so that they can, we have countless stories of when folks were, we've brought in families and how their lives changed and their kids went on to go to college because there was stability in their education, and they got to know their teachers and they stayed in the same school, and they weren't, leaving from one school district to another to try to find affordable housing, right? Like they were able to stay in their home and get better sleep and better food. Because also, one of the things that I think is an advantage to us is that, we offer very low interest rates. We offer no more than 30% of a family's income to cover their mortgage, right? This isn't rent. So they know exactly how much their mortgage is going to be for 30 years, whereas rent continues to increase and increase and increase over time. So I think it's important that, families understand that and the community understands that, but then also, getting to the point about, diversity. There are people of all colors who have been committed, have volunteered, who really understand what it means to help these families. They've seen the stories, they've seen the results that we've had, and they have been incredibly supportive of our organization. So what I'm interested in doing is broadening that tent and making sure that everyone understands that Habitat is here to help everyone in the community that needs the support, and that anyone that wants to give and support us is welcome to help, right? We want to make sure that that tent is expanded. And so it's really important. So one of the things that we are trying to do, we've got a couple campaigns going on, and one of them is just building dreams of home ownership in the next 2 years. And part of that the vision is around creating 100 homes over the next 2 years. In the past, Habitat has done, amazing work. They do great quality homes. Like I said, we've been here since 1988. And we've helped over 237 families acquire home ownership. And the interesting thing about that, right, is it's been over 30 years. But what I'm saying is over the next 2 years, we're going to have 100 homes that are built. One of the reasons why I've been brought on is to elevate and expand what we do as a mission and have a greater, broader impact in Orange County. And so I think it's a really bold goal, but I think it's achievable. And, as I've shared this with, our staff and our board members and, community partners, people are really excited about it, to know that Habitat is really going to have that broader impact, and especially in this time where home prices are continually increasing, and it's just so needed.
Exactly, that was going to be my next question, which you have touched upon with recession looming large, with home rents going up. When actually renting a house in itself has become a big issue, how is affordable housing working? And as a non-profit organization, you definitely would be needing a lot of funds. So how is that working in these difficult times?
Yeah, I think, the number one thing for us is, obviously how the housing prices, right? The high cost of rent. But for us, it's the cost of land. It's acquiring land in Orange County, because just because we're a nonprofit doesn't necessarily mean that we get a discount on available property, especially if we're buying it from a private partner, a private party. So that's a real a challenge for us. And then also the limited land, like Orange County is only so big. And so, being able to access that land, we are also in competition with for-profit developers. So the one good thing about Habitat is that we can take small parcels and, build, one or two units on a project, on a lot. But then we also are large builders. We can have large projects. We have a project currently in the pipeline in Anaheim, that the city of Anaheim, that's about 24 units. And so we're looking for partnerships. The project in Anaheim is in partnership with a faith-based organization. And so we want to optimize that model, because we think that there are churches that are looking to partner with us, and faith-based organizations that are looking to create more housing for their parishioners, their community that they serve. And so we want to be a good steward in that perspective. But I think really for us, it's the high cost of, also building, right, materials. And the good thing about Habitat is we do take donations for our build. So if there are organizations out there that are willing to donate lumber or any materials, not only just for our restores, but also for our new projects, or for our new projects. So I think it's important to communicate that out and make sure that folks know we are, we're open, we're looking for donations. So there's a couple of ways that folks can donate. Again, it's material, it's land, it's cars. Believe it or not, we do take cars as a donation to help fund more housing construction projects. So there's multiple ways that people can get engaged and support us. But again, it's the high cost of land, it's the high cost of actually building and having the labor to actually complete that. So one of the ways that we save is with our volunteers. It's a big savings. And then the donated materials is another way that we can save on the cost. So that's how we're able to reduce the mortgage, but then also having to support low and very low and moderate income families. And we have some really great financial partners and lending institutions that we work with that are willing to support our borrowers. So
how do people who want to be benefited approach you, and what do you see before selecting the beneficiary?
Yeah, so I think, who would qualify, and then how do they become a Habitat homeowner? The easiest way to go about it is to go on our website. There is a way to sign up for one of our orientations. It's about an hour and a half orientation to learn about what we do, how you qualify for a mortgage. And then you go through that process. And then what happens is that the team walks you through how to apply for a mortgage, and to see if you are ready, or if you need to go through some additional financial literacy classes to prepare. So the thing about Habitat is that sometimes people think that we just give homes away, and our homeowners are they're homeowners, right? So they have to meet the criteria for a mortgage. So they have to have a credit score that qualifies to meet the bank qualifications. They need to have a down payment of about 1% to 5% of the home purchase. And let me say this about that as well. There are a number of cities that are partnering with us, and a number of foundations that are helping us with down payment assistance. So if families lack that, they're challenged by having, cash up front, you know, talk to us about that, because there are things out there, there are programs out there that are there to help. And then also having, you know, some reserves. So part of being a homeowner, right, is making sure that you have significant reserves so that if something happens in terms of, you know, you need to paint, or you need, you know, dishwasher goes out, right? Like, you know, you have the funds to be able to support and repair those items. So we want to make sure the bank really looks at those kinds of things. And so what I would say is that the borrower doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like, you know, don't worry about that, because sometimes people miss the opportunity with home ownership because they think that they may not qualify. They think that only rich people, you know, wealthy people can be homeowners, and that's not necessarily the case. Often, surprisingly, you know, a lot more folks will qualify. They just are not confident in reaching out. And so I think it's important to really get that word out that more people can qualify than they think. So, and, you know, in terms of AMI, and so what we mean by that is the medium average home, or I'm sorry, the average income on a income scale, right? So we do very, very low income, and we do also moderate. So that could mean, you know, someone that's making, or a family that's making about 120, a family of four that's making about $120,000 a year. So, you know, that's a lot of families in Orange County that would qualify for that. So I think it's important that I share that information, because you know, I really want to see more families applying for the program.
When we talk about housing, Monique, we also need to factor in the government and the law. So the organization has been there for so long. Do you also work towards influencing the policy, or kind of help formulating the policies towards affordable housing? And if so, then if you could elaborate on it, on the work that the foundation has done, the organization has done.
Yeah, you know, part of my role as a CEO is that very thing, is doing some advocacy to work with, you know, just 2 weeks ago, I was in DC and met with our government officials, our representatives there at the Senate level and also at the Congress level. And you know, asking for a number of programs to help fund affordable housing, whether it's for down payment assistance. And even though we don't have, you know, rural families in Orange County, we're also asking for money, you know, for families that may live in a rural community in the country or within the state of California. And next week, I'm going to be in Sacramento asking, you know, our representatives there on the state and the assembly side for funds, and telling our stories and giving them some success stories about how the current funding has helped. And then also more additional funding. I think, you know, because in California, there's been a lot of attention around supportive housing and permanent housing, and we need it, right? Like, there's so many people experiencing homelessness. It is heartbreaking, you know, and like I said, I've done that work for 9 years, so I know. But the other thing, as I talked about for a bridge, right, is how do we create more housing stock? Because part of the challenge with the price of housing going up is we have not built enough over the years. And so prices, you know, it's the basic economics, right? Supply and demand, and there's not enough supply to meet the demand that we have and to meet the needs of the population. And so we're advocating for more housing stock, right? More funding to be able to build, but then also more housing for affordable workforce housing ownership. So you know, our politicians we've asked for $350 million from the state of California. So far during the budget cuts, there's been about 150 that's been cut. And so we're going next week to go back and say, hey, you know, this is vital. It's critical especially at this time in place where we are with housing, that we really need that additional 150, you know, $1 million. And so I think it's going to be important to do that work. So it's continuous, right? It's in conjunction in relationship to the cycle, the budgets at the federal level, and then also the state. But then, you know, I do a lot of advocacy locally too. I spend a lot of time with our city officials and our county officials as well, helping them understand why this is so important. Yeah. Hopefully that answers your question.
Absolutely, and best of luck for your work. And may I also know, this may be the last question, wherein after all these years of experience of working in affordable housing, would you like to say something to those who dream of having their own home, and also to the people who want to help? Is there anything in short that you would like to say towards the end of this interview?
Yeah, I think number one, for those that are interested in buying or want that dream of home ownership, is know that, Habitat is out there and we're trying to build dreams, right? We're trying to help you establish that dream. So reach out. And I know it's hard because, whether your finances are in good shape or you think they're not in great shape and it's embarrassing and you don't really want people to know your personal business, or, know that maybe you had an illness in the past, or that you lost a job during COVID, and, maybe you're struggling to get back and build up your savings, still reach out, because, you'd be surprised some of the stories that we've heard. You'd be surprised at some of the people that we've been able to help. And I think that is, just know that we're not here to judge, we're here to help, and that we really do change lives. And so everyone on staff and at the board level and all of our volunteers are here because they really are committed to this mission. One thing I will tell you is that I've not experienced anything like Habitat in terms of the commitment and the focus, and the engagement, that folks are just so committed to helping. So I would say that to folks that have that want to own, and then people that want to get involved. Same thing, go to our website, www.habitatoc.org, and there's a way on the website to volunteer and sign up for an opportunity. If we partner with organizations and corporations, if you want to do some type of team building activity for your team and get everyone out together, or if you want to do an individual, you want to have your church, you have an association, for those lawyers that are out there, for those people of color, we're reaching out to, like I said, a broader tent. And so, we really want to make sure that everyone feels connected, right? All communities, Asian, Latina, Latinx, and then also just everyone, right? Any profession, those teachers, those school districts, reach out to us, because we are here to partner, and we are in this all together to create a community and a better Orange County. And so we need people like yourselves to give, even if it's, a couple hours, right? Every little bit helps. Or if you're committed and you want to come out once a month, or you want to come out once a week, we, like I said, we are interested in having you. So thank you so much. I really do appreciate this time and allowing me to speak about Habitat.
That's wonderful. In fact, some of those wonderful stories are there on the website for whoever is interested to read and get inspired. Thank you so much, Monique. That was a wonderful information that you've given us. And it's wonderful that Habitat for Humanity not just helps in building homes, but also empowers individuals to having their home, their dream home. Thank you so much. It was really wonderful talking to you.
Thanks, Raji. I appreciate you too. This has been great.